Welcome back to Horse Racing today on this Friday. As we always do on Fridays, we're going to look ahead to some of the weekend action at Lone Star Park. We are joined by track announcer Jim Byers. Jim, a very good morning to you. You picked out a couple of allowance races coming up over the weekend at Lone Star Park, and I've been puzzling over race number 5 on Saturday. It's a second level allowance for 3-year-olds and up going a mile on the turf, and it looks to me like a wide open betting race. You got a little something of everything in there.
And one thing, like most of our races here this meet, it kind of revolves around Steve Asmussen. There's a couple of interesting Asmussen angles here. He's winning at a 33% clip as a trainer here to this point in the meeting, and we're a decent way into the meeting now. He's got Candir in this race, who I think is going to be a very formidable threat. 2-1 on the morning line. Candir can lay close to the pace. Probably won't make the lead. I think Pacific Typhoon will probably make the lead. But what's interesting about the Asmussen angle is, I mean, this race sets up well for him to have a big chance. But Iram Diego, who is riding the 3, Mujab Jr., is Asmussen's top rider. He's his first call rider. Diego rides all of Asmussen's best horses. He rode Candir last time. Horse faded in the stretch and ran third. He is not riding him today. Who knows exactly why? Only I think Steve Asmussen and Iram Diego probably for sure. But that's an interesting jockey switch from Diego to Richard Aramia on Candir. And so there's some intrigue, I would say, around that race just because of the rider switch. And then you got that entry in there from the Karen Jack stable of Got the Right One Baby, an early ride. They offer a lot of contention here because they both can sit off the pace and close.
Well, let's go back to Iram Diego, who shows up on the 3-horse Mujab Jr. for trainer Ernesto Torres. And Mujab Jr. is indicative of a couple of horses in this race, Jim, in that they are moving up the class ladder after showing well over the Lone Star turf in the claiming ranks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Ernesto Torres does a very good job, but it's not necessarily that unusual to see a guy like Diego ride for Torres. It's just unusual to see it with Steve Asmussen, well-meant horse in the race. But yeah, Mujab Jr. is a horse that came to this turf course last month, sat off the pace, ran well in a non-winners of 3, and now steps up. And like any turf course, horses that run well over this lawn can sometimes repeat it. This can be a horse for course like any other.
I'm going to throw in one other name here, the 5-horse May Master. Now, here's a horse that has been racing at Will Rogers Downs in his last couple. I see the speed figures going up. The horse is clearly in very good form for Kerry Craddock, and you've got that good turf form lurking in his past performances, including a pretty good run at Lone Star.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This horse does come in with really nice form. I really like that race on May 1st at Will Rogers. And Lindy Wade is a rider that is becoming pretty well known around these parts. He's been around this region now for quite a while. Still a young rider, though, originally from Louisiana. And he is really good on the turf. He's really good at he's a versatile rider, but he's really good at saving a horse and finishing hard. And I think Lindy Wade might fit this horse very well. So that is definitely a horse to consider in this race coming up on Saturday.
Okay, that's race number 5 on the Saturday program. Let's turn the page to Sunday's racing at Lone Star Park and take a look at race number 4. It's a multi-level allowance optional claiming condition. But what struck me, Jim, is that we've got horses in here who qualify on the non-winners of 4 races lifetime, and they're very sharp. The 3-horse Dirty Steve and the 6-horse War Ride fit that bill.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we talked, you and I actually, on one of these segments earlier in the year, talked about Dirty Steve when he was getting set to run on April 30th here. He came out and won a race. So, you know, he's a horse that's been a little while now, about a month since he's run. But he's had a couple of pretty nice breezes since then, so you have to respect that Mindy Willis trainee. And as far as War Ride goes, he was a $1.1 million yearling back at the Keeneland September yearling sale in 2013. And unfortunately, he is not made anywhere near that back yet. And so kind of like a high first-round draft choice that doesn't work out. But War Ride's going to be an interesting horse to follow. Once again, Lindy Wade is aboard here for trainer Steve Asmussen. That's a combination we don't see a whole lot of around here. But, you know, War Ride hasn't been out since January 28th at Sam Houston. But if he can fire off the bench, he could be really tough. And, you know, except for the occasional Baffert shipper into here, we don't see a whole lot of horses in that price range as yearlings. So it's going to be interesting to at least see how War Ride looks and also see if he can beat horses like Reflector and Dirty Steve and that sort of thing in his Lone Star debut.
Well, let's give a little attention to the 2-to-1 morning line favorite Reflector. Here's a 6-year-old who's a 5-time winner. How good was that State-Bred Premier Stakes that he was third in last time out?
That was pretty good. Super Mason around here is a real star, especially on the main track and especially sprinting. Super Mason's won that race 2 years in a row. He's put up huge Beyer figs. Super Mason is just a monster around one turn here, especially on the main track, but he has also raced well on the turf. And so I think that race was pretty good. I don't recall a whole bunch of horses coming out of that race just yet, at least not among the top 3 finishers. I don't recall Bravura coming back yet. But as far as Reflector goes, the Broberg stable is second only to the Asmussen barn here in number of wins, and Broberg is very good with these types of horses. And so I would not be scared off by the fact that this horse was in Texas Bred Company last time, because I'm a pretty good believer that Premier Stakes annually, certainly as long as it's had Super Mason in it, has been a pretty productive race.
We've been talking with Jim Byers, the track announcer at Lone Star Park. We were looking at race number 5 on the program on Saturday, race number 4 on Sunday. A couple of good allowance events for our bettors to focus on. Jim, thanks as always for your time. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks so much.